What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Stocks with Mike and Tom show. Tom is back with us today, and we're set for a giant week in the markets. We have some big news with Tesla deliveries, we have some news with the airlines, and we have a lot of great setups for this week. So, Tom, fill us in about what's going on in the market this week, and welcome back to the show.
Yeah, definitely glad to be back. And I think Tesla is going to be some pretty big news this week, Mike. Over the weekend, we had some pretty good news of electric vehicle deliveries. They came in with 310,000 deliveries. It was actually slightly under their estimate here of 317,000 vehicles for the first 3 months of 2022. So it did just slightly come under the estimate. But it is good to see them still come in with these deliveries of 310,000, Mike. They're definitely staying up there. And obviously, that's still a lot of cars being delivered, even though it came in slightly under the estimate. I'm really glad to see them getting this type of growth. And if we actually look at a yearly chart of Tesla's deliveries over the past few years, you can see they've been growing substantially since 2012. They were recently at 936,000 vehicles delivered in 2021. And if they keep up at this pace, Mike, delivering 300,000 vehicles per quarter, they're going to be at 1.2 million this year. And that's not including any more growth coming in. So, that'll be a pretty big thing if they do end up coming in above 1 million deliveries this year. And it's just good to see Tesla continuing to put out these production numbers, especially during a time, Mike, whenever we also have production delays and different issues going on with the semiconductor industry that's also been hurting some of these other companies getting going in the EV market.
Very true, Tom. Very true. So, it was good that they grew their deliveries, but again, it was under the expectations, a lot of them. But either way, Tesla's still growing. Tom, Tesla's stock has been on a massive uptrend over the past couple of weeks. So what levels should we be watching with this one? Because just a couple of weeks ago, this stock was at like $800 or so, and now it's just under $1,100.
Yeah, they've been flying straight up, and they actually just hit at a pretty big resistance here, Mike, right around $1,120. That's been a pretty big resistance there. You can see on the daily chart, we touched this last on like January 13th, January 12th, somewhere right around there. Now we recently just like double top there. So we'll have to see what Tesla can do this week. I know that at the end of the week, Mike, we had a couple of pullbacks here in the overall market and with Tesla. So looking at Tesla like on a 5-minute chart, I think if they can go ahead and break this high of last week, right around, like I said, 1120 to 1124, I think we'll start to see a pretty good breakout here. And I love the way Tesla held their ground last week. They didn't really fall off the table. They just kind of consolidated here, right around this 1080 support.
There we go. And then, Tom, I also saw some news today on CNBC about these airline companies having some weird glitches. So what's going on there?
Yeah, over the weekend, there was some thunderstorms sweeping through Florida. It actually caused some flight delays. So close to 6,000 flights were delayed on Saturday. Southwest Airlines was hit the hardest from the storms, but also they had a back-end technical problem, which didn't help anything either. But obviously the storms were not good to see. But Southwest Airlines was hit the worst by this. And I will say, Mike, like airlines have been in the headlines a little bit lately. They had some pretty good news last week. And, we saw the airlines start to shoot up. And honestly, they consolidated pretty well up here at the top. Looking at Southwest, because they were the most affected by this, I'm curious if we're going to see a bit of a pullback Monday morning. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if maybe Southwest started falling back down to around $45 or something like that. It definitely wouldn't surprise me with the bad news coming out, but I definitely wanted to talk about it because if we look at the airlines on the daily chart, Mike, they've been pretty much straight up from lows, kind of like what we've been seeing with Tesla over the past few weeks. So I definitely wanted to hit on this because who knows, we might be back on the downtrend now.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, Tom. And then also, what's going on with this situation in Russia and Ukraine and all that stuff?
Yeah, that is never getting any better. Last week we saw the SPY start to dip down in a pretty major way on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We started seeing some pretty big pullbacks in the market. And I know there was more news coming out of Russia last week, but it's just terrible, Mike. There's so much bad Russian news. Zelensky has a lot of issues right now. And obviously, like whenever you look at like the whole Russia situation, Mike, the thing is that it's just black swan events continuing to happen. So Obviously, there's more missile strikes, there's more stuff like that going on. And whenever we look at this, it's been really hitting our markets. Like I said, last week we had some pretty big drawbacks in the overall market. And looking at it this week, I really hope that this news starts to get better with Russia, because it's hurting everything from supply chain issues. It's making those get even worse, especially for the automotive industry, which I've been hearing. And let's go check out Ford, because Ford had a pretty major pullback last week, along with General Motors. And if we look at these stocks on the daily chart, Mike, they are down a lot. Like General Motors was at 67 just a few months ago. Now they're sitting at $41. We have Ford all the way down to 1665 off of highs from 25. And that's a pretty big percentage there. So definitely keep these on the radar, because hopefully we start to see these stocks start to recover soon. But it's definitely not good to see that the Russia situation is even bleeding over into our markets now.
Yeah, true that. Lots of crazy stuff, Tom. And then also, what do we have on the schedule for this week in terms of like earnings and events?
Yeah, this is actually pretty cool, Mike. So with earnings, there's nothing too big on the radar. I will say though, Wednesday before open, we have Tilray, which is going to be pretty big. I know this stock has been, pretty hyped up lately. There's been some new renewed momentum with these marijuana stocks, with bills going through Congress right now. I actually saw over the weekend, Mike, that the marijuana bill that was going through the House actually passed. And now they still have more voting on it. Of course, it's going to go to the Senate and everything like that. But I did see that it got through some part of the House, which was good to see. But as we can see, Tilray started dipping back down. But if we see the daily chart, Tilray had a great week I should say a great past couple of weeks, and started really ripping up from lows. So hopefully we start to see continued momentum with these guys if they report some good earnings. I know that these marijuana stock earnings, though, have been all over the place lately. So I don't think I'd play this one on earnings, but if you're already in, it might be a pretty good play. Or honestly, Mike, I think this one might be pretty good for shares for the longer term. I don't know if you want to maybe share some thoughts on these marijuana stocks, but I know they're definitely volatile.
Yeah, they're very risky. Like if we go to SNDL, I like to use this one as an example a lot of times. The implied volatility is at 240%. And when you compare that to any other volatile stock, whether it's AMC, Tesla, AMD, or anything like that, these marijuana stocks are more volatile than almost anything else. So it's like, it's extremely risky to play them. But then again, if you get lucky, it can be a giant winner. So, it's definitely like a gamble.
Yeah, it is. It's a tough market to be in. And, I feel like right now this legislation is going to really rule this. So there's a lot of stuff where marijuana stocks love to move with news, of course. And anytime you have news of like legalization or any type of bills going through the House or Senate, it's definitely big. So definitely just keep them on the radar, because if something does come out that maybe we see some renewed momentum or something passes, we might see this stock start to fly up. So definitely keep the marijuana stocks on the radar, Mike. And looking at other stocks here in the market, let's check out some of these commodities, because I know Oxy and a lot of these oil plays were consolidating a lot last week. And then we have more stuff coming up this week, Mike, with the economic calendar, with the FOMC minutes on Wednesday at 2 p.m. I know that lately, like the commodities like gold and silver, and also like big bank stocks, have been moving a lot whenever the FOMC starts to, or whenever the FOMC meetings go on, and whenever Powell starts to speak. A lot of these stocks start moving a lot. So that's going to be big on Wednesday. And I'm really going to keep my eyes on those commodities. Like I said, the oil plays, but more importantly, almost gold and silver. I feel like those are going to be bigger.
Yeah, Wednesday will be very important. Like Tom just said, we have the FOMC minutes. That normally brings in a lot of volatility. So guys, to be clear, the FOMC minutes is not when Jerome Powell does his normal press conference. Basically, it's just like a recap of last meeting, of the last FOMC meeting, basically. And you can just see what the what the leaders of the Feds were thinking and discussing about while making their decision about interest rates and how they plan to navigate this crazy economy.
Yeah, definitely. Because, whenever Powell speaks, he's just kind of giving a little summary of what they talked about. And whenever you get to see the minutes, you get to see a more in-depth view. And sometimes the minutes do end up moving the market. So we'll have to see how it ends up playing out on Wednesday. But Mike, honestly, like the SPY here seems like it had a pretty good close on Friday. I know initially on Friday, the SPY was selling off in a major way. We ran all the way down around to that 450 support. Now we're popping right back up. So looks like the SPY might be on a little bit of a renewed uptrend here, Mike. I'm not sure, but this close on Friday was pretty strong. And, we do have some big events this week with the FOMC minutes and stuff. I really hope that we see the SPY continue on the uptrend, Mike, because if we look at it on the daily chart, our market started to turn over at the end of the week last week. And I know we were on such a great uptrend that the turnover was almost expected. I know me and you had been kind of hitting on this for a couple weeks now that we were expecting a bit of a pullback, and looks like we finally saw that happen. I'm curious or not, though, if we're going to see a renewed momentum to the upside this week. I really hope we do, Mike, because we've been seeing a lot of great moves out of some of these growth plays, and even stocks like Facebook, Disney, and stocks like that have been recovering up well.
There we go. So what levels do we have for the SPY for this week?
Yeah, we bounced off that 450 support. I think that's going to be a great support for this week. If we do end up breaking below the low of Friday around like 449, maybe we could play the SPY off to the downside. But I think that the SPY has a pretty good move here setting up to the upside. I would say if we break above this 454 resistance that we hit in pre-market on Friday, I think we could see a pretty nice pop out of the SPY tomorrow, Mike. And then as we start to rise, I see another resistance up here around 456. Then I have one at 458 and then 460. So I know that 458 to 460 are probably the bigger ones in my eyes. So I'm really going to wait for that move up towards 460. Hopefully we see that happen, and it would definitely make for a nice move out of the SPY. But we might need some renewed momentum here, Mike, because like I said, the SPY went on a bit of a downtrend to end the week last week, and I hope we see some of these tech stocks continue to do well. Maybe we'll see the SPY and the QQQ start to come back if that does happen.
There we go. So I just want to give a giant shout out to our member of the day, Christian. Thank you so much, Christian, for being a great member of the StockedUp Discord. Tom and I really appreciate you, and thank you so much for everything. Thank you so much, Christian. Huge shout out to you. And let's get right into these momentum plays for tomorrow. The first one, we have UPS to the downside.
Yeah, UPS has been really selling off here. Go ahead and make UPS fall below 203.72, that low of Friday. And if it breaks below 203.72, watch it down, because that $200 support is going to be probably pretty big on this one.
There we go. With the next one, we have VZ to the upside.
Yeah, VZ had a nice explosion on Friday, actually. Go ahead and make them break out above 52.20.
All right. And then with the next one, we have KO also to the upside.
Yeah, Coca-Cola. Wow, these value plays are doing great. Make KO break above 63 even.
Sounds good. So we're watching KO and VZ for potential day trades to the upside tomorrow, only if they break above the levels Tom listed. And we are watching UPS for a potential day trade to the downside tomorrow, only if it breaks below the level Tom listed. But if you guys trade options, definitely check out that first link in the description and the comments down below. Our bots call out daily options day trades. We have swing trades called out too. The bots were on fire last week. Every single play popped for at least 31% in the same day. The best play popped for 54% in the same day. That was Apple on Wednesday, the 180 strike puts. Basically, that play went from $238 all the way up to $367 in just a couple hours. So daily options day trades every single day called out by your bots. You also get access to Tom and myself. We have swing trades. We have premium selling plays. We have unusual options activity bots. We have bonus day trade setups by Tom. You can cancel at any time. We have a coupon running right now, and overall, the bots have been on fire. So if you trade options, it's a great package. The link for it will be in the description down below. But Tom, do you have any last minute thoughts before we close out of today's video?
Yeah, just always be careful in this type of market, guys. We saw the SPY pull back last week, and the Russia news is not done yet. So just keep in mind, we might see more black swan events come out of there. Like if Russia starts to assault some cities or something like that, it obviously would not be good. I know last week they talked about scaling back, but then they actually just ended up not scaling back and even almost scaled up. So looking at it, I hope that the Russia situation gets better. Our market was pulling back. I will say, Mike, we had a lot of stocks go down on Friday. Like a lot of these growth plays like Rivian were down 7%. We had Lucid down 3%. DraftKings fell 2%. But I hope we see some renewed momentum back to the upside. If we do, I think it'll make for a pretty nice uptrend out of the overall market. Like I said, I like the way the SPY is setting up here. So hopefully we see the SPY recover back, maybe up towards 460, like I mentioned earlier.
Good stuff. Well, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. We're set for a very volatile week, so definitely be prepared for the volatility. Besides that, let's have a great week, and thank you guys so much for watching.